Ciao a tutti and welcome to Venice Talks, a new podcast series about the city on water, hosted by me, Monica Cesarato, a Venetian food and travel blogger. I'm going to put my insider knowledge at your disposal to help you discover Venice at 360 degrees. Did you know there are two ways to visit Venice? You can follow the rush of tourists dragging themselves along a route chosen by another 20 million people every year, or you can leave this path, trying to discover the real city. Every week, I'm going to find out what's going on in the city, uncovering the stories and speaking to the people that matter, the Venetians, artisans, writers, fashion designers, artists, glassmakers, bloggers, food experts, tourist guides, and much more. Just you wait and find out. These conversations want to animate, educate, and create discussions on how to visit Venice the right and sustainable way. You can find me on my blog, www.monicacesarato.com, and also on all social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Monica Cesarato. And now, enjoy the episode. Welcome to Venice Talks, episode number 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Venice Talks. Today, I'm talking to Marisa Convento. Marisa is an impiraressa, and pretty soon she will tell us what an impiraressa is. She's from Venice, and she is very famous in the city. In 2018, she actually won the prize she won an award, the San Marco Award for the best ambassador for the artisans of the city of Venice, for spreading the knowledge all over the world. She's been on TV many times. She's been on very, very, very many magazines, both nationally in Italy and internationally. And she is an amazing person. So, hello, Marisa. How are you?
Ciao Monica. Hello Monica. Yes, I'm okay, and thank you very much for hosting me.
Okay, first of all, because I know everybody's wondering what an impiraressa is.
Allora, Impiraressa, it's literally the lady who strings. And
What does she strings? Because I didn't explain at the beginning, but what you deal with.
actually the lady strings beads. So she is a bead stringer.
Okay. Beads from where?
Glass beads from Venice.
From
From
Venice.
Venice, made of the famous glass which is produced in the city.
So the Murano glass, right?
Exactly.
We'll go back to that in a second, but first I would like you to explain where the word impiraressa come from because it's a very particular word.
Allora, the word impiraressa, which is quite difficult to pronounce as many R's, it derives from the dialect, the Venetian dialect, the verb impirar, which means to stick, actually to string, but to stick. And it derives directly from the Greek word piron, which stands for fork, because they say that the use of fork was brought to Venice from a Byzantine princess, very fine lady that married to a doge. And so we use the word impirar in order to describe the gesture of actually sticking something.
Mm-hmm. And how is this bead stringing achieved?
Actually, the bead stringer, you can see even in the depiction that were made by Giovanni Grevenbroich in the 18th century. She used to work with, and still today we use the same very long and fine needles that actually are used in a sort of box full of tiny little beads, glass beads we call conterie,
Mm-hmm.
and keeping these very, very long needles in the fashion of a fan, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we actually string them into the needles, and then after they go in the thread. So
So
it's, yeah.
yeah, so you use this technique now to make jewelry, a particular type of jewelry. But
Yeah.
in the past, this technique was used for what?
Allora, the technique of stringing the beads with very long needles to make the work quicker was basically intended for stringing beads as a packing system for their shipment all over the world. So
Mhm.
the impirarese, the bead stringers, used to actually make bundles of these strung beads in order to make their shipment easier.
Because we're talking about really, really tiny glass beads, right?
Yes, we're talking about the seed beads, the tiny ones that are still today used by many communities all over the world, many native community, like in Africa or also in America, and that you have seen probably in your life everywhere, even used for embroiderings or embellishment of different types. The tiny, tiny seed beads.
Right. So they created these bundles, and then the bundles were sent off where?
Everywhere in the world,
Oh, wow.
everywhere in the world, mainly to Africa,
Mhm.
but where they are still used, like for example by Masai people of Kenya and Tanzania, or to Native American communities where they started being sent in after the second half of 1800.
Right. And are these beads still produced?
No, these tiny seed beads, those that are still around, the original Venetian one that are still around, are beads that come from former productions and are kept in deposits, not only in Venice but also all over the world. And because the making of the Venetian seed beads actually stopped in the late 80s, beginning of 90s of the 1900s.
Why did it stop?
Because we went out of market with the costs, in the
Right.
sense that in other places where they were made mechanically,
Mhm.
completely industrially, the costs were much lower. And despite the fact that the Venetian ones were very, very good quality, we actually became no longer competitive.
Because of course the Murano glass beads, like not just the seed beads, but like the proper bigger ones, are all made by hand, right?
The Venetian glass seed beads were made with the proceeding of work, which was long and tedious and made of several different steps of proceeding of work, and therefore very expensive. Very high quality, but very expensive.
Right. So the beads that you use nowadays are all vintage beads then.
Yes, firstly, I have to use if I want to work with Venetian beads, and I want to work with Venetian beads.
Of course.
I actually take advantage of the very good quantity of beads that I accumulated in the years, and come from former production, sometimes very old production of Venice, like end of 1800, beginning of 1900s.
Okay, so as I was saying before, you're a jewelry maker, so you actually took these beads and you now transform them into jewelry. But your jewelry is a bit different from other um, jewelers, right? Because you specialize in making coral branches, right?
I actually tried all of the different. I really challenged myself in making something different because I always ask myself why people should buy one of my things
Mm.
instead than another producer,
Well,
another artist.
I can tell you why because because they're beautiful, but I'm a bit biased, so that's another story. Okay.
So I really tried to learn and sometimes even self-teaching myself because not everyone it's really actually well disposed in teaching you an art.
Of
Uh,
course. That is actually an
uh,
art that is dying in a way because there aren't that many imperialists left in Venice, right?
but there is this sort of legacy,
Mm.
the Venetian way of the Venetian artisans. They don't really want to teach you exactly what they do because it's a sort of protection.
Right.
And And so I really challenged myself in making everything that was possible to be done, from embroidering, from stringing with wire, and the making of the coral branches, or
Hmm.
these pendants that I do, these pieces that I do, tridimensional pieces that look like coral branches with
And by
the
the
glass
way,
beads.
to the people that are listening, they do like coral branches so much so that sometimes when she posted pictures, people comment, "Oh, I hope you didn't harm of that coral, poor thing." And she goes, "No, it's glass." So it's funny.
Sometimes people, it's a little bit or disgusted, because of course a coral is one of the endangered
Of
species,
course, yeah, yeah,
but also sometimes disappointed because they think it's real coral, and when I tell
yeah,
them no, it's glass,
of course. The
they're a
price
little
is
bit
a bit different.
upset. Well, it's a particular technique, and I like it a lot. And also, I like making corals out of seed beads, because it's a sort of symbol of Venice.
Hmm. Right.
Venice, the queen of seas, and so.
Yeah, and coral also was used in the past is good luck, isn't it?
Yes, there is a very large number. There are many symbolism that are tied to the use of coral in the Mediterranean culture. And first of all, if you look at the ancient paintings from Antonello di Messina or Crivelli or others, you will see baby Jesus in the arms of La Madonna, wearing a little branch of coral around the neck. It's a sort of amulet.
Hmm.
It's a sort of symbol of the passion of Christ. It's the symbol of life,
Hmm.
because it's the color of blood.
Yeah.
And it's so full of mystic and magical and mythological significances that really I cannot really think about something more Mediterranean than the coral.
Hmm. Now, what's very interesting is that you got into this much later in life, before you were doing something completely different, right?
Well, I must admit that I was a little crazy when I started my own business at 46 years old.
Well, it's never too
So,
late, and you really are the proof of it.
well, it was a little bit of a challenge because the passion was and still is huge.
Hmm.
But when you start a business, you also need some practical, skills of entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And I must confess, I don't think I have them.
Don't be silly. Oh, by the way, to anybody that goes and look at their website or gets a chance to meet Marisa in Venice, she is amazing. The things that she's achieved in how many years now you've been a jewelry maker?
Well, I am 62. You count.
Ooh, okay, all right. In a few years, okay, she has achieved so many things. As I said before, in 2018, you were given this award by the city of Venice, the
Mhm.
San Marco Award, that is a very coveted award in the city because it's given only to the people of Venice that have achieved a lot in their lifetime. And to you, it was given for being the best ambassador for the artisan, right?
Yes, I was very pleased, and because this award is given also by
Hmm.
popular election, in the
Okay.
sense that every year the city of Venice receive some suggestions
Hmm.
by common people, by the citizens, and they choose a number of people, of citizens that they reckon are uh, um,
Are worthy.
exactly. I
Are
didn't
worthy.
know how
You
to
are
say.
worthy. Yeah, yeah,
You
you're
know,
worthy.
actually, I almost even didn't even believe when they called me and they told me, and I was very humbled, and it was a very precious moment of my life. Yes.
I can imagine the ceremony. You must have felt so proud and happy.
Well, I was in good company of many other Venetians that
Yeah.
were awarded in different categories,
Uh-huh.
like in helping
Yeah.
volunteers or people that has done something particular, and they do this award. They give these awards every year. Yes, I am very proud of it.
Well, it was a recognition of all the artwork that you've done to support the artisans in the city, not just the Imperialese, but and not just the people involved with Murano Glass, but literally at all levels. And you, in the years, you've done a lot of work with TV and newspapers and magazine to try to spread the word of what we say the made in Venice. That is a bit even further than the made in Italy. It is because it is local. Don't and this was a recognition, wasn't it?
Well, let's say that yes, you are right. Uh, I don't want to seem that I have done so much, but
Oh my
yes,
God, I'm telling you, you're not telling us. I'm telling them because obviously you
but
have done.
uh,
you're so
no,
you're
you
so
know
humble.
what? No, you know what? I know how an artisan feel because I have been through that, in the sense I've been through the difficulty, all of the struggles of being an artisan and being an artisan in the most touristed place of the
Mm-hmm.
planet.
Yeah.
So I know what mass tourism means and how it can really flatten everything. It's like every industry, it's like Attila,
Mm-hmm.
wherever the army of the mass tourists pass through, it's difficult to preserve a local
Yeah.
identity and
Yeah.
local diversity. And I've seen for many years, or my all of my colleagues, not only my colleagues in my field of uh, craft, so the
Mm-hmm.
glass beads in general, but also other crafts being literally wiped away.
Mm-hmm.
So I started really empathizing with them, and really I tried my best to spread the word, and helping them. I was helping myself as well.
Mm-hmm. So for the people that are listening, I actually, well, me and Marisa known each other for a few years now. She's one of my best friend. Sorry, but obviously the first podcast had to be done with one of my best friends. But it's very interesting actually how we met because I'm a blogger. I started as my first blogging experiences in 2008, and she was one of the first people that actually got to interview because we kind of connected on Facebook. I can't even remember how, but I keep seeing her comments and what she was writing about the artisans. And she had this little shop in Calle della Mandola in Venice. And I remember one day I literally walked through the door, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marisa.
Mhm.
I walked through the door and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so," and I said to her, "I would like to do an interview and write a blog post about you." And literally from that moment, we just became best friends. It didn't take long, didn't it?
No,
And it was really
no.
funny because we literally just clicked because immediately we connected because we both in different ways, but we both were trying to give the same message outside to the people, as in, look, there are hundreds of artisans in Venice. Why are you going on and buying the stupid uh, horrible souvenirs when you can buy really good products in the city that will last forever, and you support the city at the same time? So, how important is the made in Venice? I mean, is, as I was saying before, is a step further than the made in Italy, isn't it?
Well, the Made in Venice, it's the result of hundreds of years of history.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you look at in Venice that is crafted, and it's normally crafted following methods that are century old. And that is important because it reflects the mere um, genesis of Venice, the birth of Venice, the birth of Venice on commerce, on craft, on exchanges, on journeys, on the caravans of the ships going around the Mediterranean, buying, transforming, bringing somewhere else. And it's a process that has lasted for centuries and has created the wealth and the culture that now you admire in form of stones.
Mhm.
Okay, now we see the stones, now we see the beautiful stones described by Ruskin. But behind the stones that are many human lives
Mhm.
that have created beauty, that have created worth, that
Mm.
have transformed the material into something worthy. So, this power, this alchemic power of transforming a material into something that has an higher worth,
Mm.
it's Venetian in the most pure of the essences. So no matter what you look at, is it a gold leaf which is still hammered by hand? Is it a perfume made by a famous muschiere, as they
Mhm.
say, a perfume maker? Is it glass from the glass furnace or a glass bead? Is it leather? Whatever you look at, it's the result of a long, long journey. It's 1,600 years of journey that the Venetian people have done to bring to you today what the city is.
Mm. And I think is what at the moment the city, as in the authority, are really forgetting. But I think this is will be one way to bring the right people to the city, for the people to want to stay in the city longer instead of one night or maybe 2 nights, and both changing the type of not just the numbers of people coming to the city, but also the type of people. Uh, uh, I don't know. I totally think that educating and understand and showing people what the city has to offer. That is not just a ride on a gondola or going to St. Mark's Square to visit the Doge's Palace. There is so much more. And I think it's 1600 years history. You don't discover it just by going to a museum. You discover it also talking to the people, right, of a city.
I think that, like everything that you do that is important, you must prepare yourself.
Exactly, exactly.
uh,
Before you come.
Before you come, long before you come. I mean, you should. I really don't want to teach anyone, but I think that at least for me, it's like that. If I go to a place that I reckon important, and if my journey has been planned and it's expensive and it takes time and he has to, it's an occasion, it's a lifetime occasion sometime, I really want to plan in advance and know in advance what I will prefer to see. Well, especially today that we tend to be much quicker in our stays in the places than we used to be before. Like during the period of the Grand Tour,
Mm.
people used to come to Venice for a month and a
Yes.
half, even two,
Yeah.
and in such a long time, in such a stretched permanence in the city, you would really enter in the mood of the place
Mhm.
and actually start breathing with the rhythm of the lagoon.
Mm.
But if you come for 1 or 2 days, even more true, you must be prepared and you must prepare yourself. And there are excellent bloggers like you, Monica,
Thank you.
that
You're
do.
not biased at all. No, you're not.
No, but if I have to mention one, of course I mention you,
Of course.
that has done for years and years
Mm.
such a selection. You have been like creaming the milk,
Mm.
and you've done a selection of what was best to experience. So just follow the work of the expert. You don't even have to It doesn't even have to be so fatiguing.
Mm.
It needs to be fun. You just do a search. What's best to do in Venice, and you choose what it's the nearest experience or experiences to your own
Yes,
personality.
I think there is a problem at the moment as well that a lot of people come over and want to do what needs to be done instead of doing what they would like to do. And I think, as you were saying, research helps you to understand what you really want to do in a city. Like for me, I when I go to a city, I like to go to museum, but I like also to have um, a good run through the food of a city. For me, is what I do, so that's what I like. So when I plan my holidays, generally, is always okay. I'm going to this place. What can I see? What restaurant is there next door that I can go and visit? Some other people might want to see, okay, I like shopping. Okay, what can I buy in Venice that is original, that is different? Where can I go and do that? Yeah, so research is so important, and I think that's one of the reasons why this podcast was started, this series, because I wanted people to understand Venice from the point of view of the Venetians that work and live in the city. Okay, and not necessarily just live, or because you can work like me and you. We don't live in the city anymore, but and we'll talk about that in a second, but I think it's very important. So going back to you and your work, you opened your shop in Calle della Mandola, but unfortunately, because of many personal circumstances, you actually had to close the shop. But now you are in a most wonderful location, right?
Yes, I now I'm working from 2020 after the second lockdown. I am working actually after the first lockdown. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I lost track of the
Oh,
lockdown.
many lockdowns we done. Yes, okay.
I am working at Bottegacini. Bottegacini, it's a new space. It's a cultural shop, and it's just in front of the gallery of Palazzo Chini, which is one of the very important museums of the Dorso Duro Museum Mile. So to understand, to let who's listening understand better, we are between the Accademia Gallery and the Peggy Guggenheim collection.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Dorso Duro, which is a very elegant and calm, very quiet neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
of Venice, and I have been working there from June 2020 because I was called by the founders of this lovely gallery, Mr. Marco Vidal and Giovanni Agliata di Montereale, who's the nephew of Vittorio Cini.
Of a
I
Fondazione Cini.
Esatto. I was called to become a resident artisan, and a resident artisan, it's really a way of saying that we invented, because
Mm-hmm.
you hear a lot about resident artists,
Artist. Yeah.
but resident artisan, it's really we can say that it's a social experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know really, but I think I'm the first one in Venice, and probably even the first one in Italy. I don't know if there are some examples around the world.
Ah.
Literally, I have been adopted,
Yes, you have,
and
haven't you? And it was supposed to have been a temporary thing, wasn't it? And now you become
no, not really.
no.
They wanted to, not really, because they wanted to have someone
Uh-huh.
inside the shop that would actually practice a craft.
Okay.
And I think that they have selected me because the work I do doesn't require a lot of machinery. I don't do dust. I don't do noise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do smells. I don't work with
I don't know.
like
I
paint.
think the real reason is another one, Marisa. I do
Uh,
think, I mean, by the way, I'm gonna be interviewing the people from Bottega Cini in the next podcasts, and also Mr. Marco Vidal. So we'll ask him directly why I invited you. But my personal opinion is that you've been asked because you do, in a way, represent the Venetian artisan. But you don't just show it, you do know also how to express it with words. So I think it's very interesting because when people walk into Bottega Cini, that is an amazing place, by the way. And I'll tell everybody you should definitely want to go. Is definitely all made in Venice objects there, and they are beautiful. Marisa in a second will tell you where they go. But I think it's because you when people walk and they walk through your side of the shop, you come out always learning something. Even I, that I come and see you quite often, I always come out learning something about Venice. So I think that's the real reason why you're there. No?
Well, it's a cultural shop. It's a cultural gift shop. It's not only a museum shop like
Mm,
one would think. It's really an hub for culture, and
yeah.
this is why there is a multimedial area where some presentations are held, where some videos are shown. You can have an olfactory experience because, of course, the company also sell perfumes. You can enjoy
But
art.
let's explain something, Bob. They're not just perfume. They are made in Venice perfume.
Yes, exactly. And they are experiences because they tell about the history of Venice also in
Mm-hmm.
the trade of spices and precious essences. But I was telling you, it's also a gallery. It's also an art gallery because currently they display Safet Zek, who's a Bosnian artist and that has an atelier in Venice, has been living in Venice for 25 years. And but cyclists, we there are there are in display different artists, so mostly painters,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a number of crafts beyond what I do with beads.
Mm-hmm.
There is a number of crafters that well-known crafters like Fallani, the silk screens by Fallani, the
Moretti.
porcelain. Moretti, Ercole Moretti, the
And a
Murrinas
beautiful
for Ercole Moretti.
and a beautiful bookshop too.
Yes, it's a bookshop. So
It's
there is
missing
a
my book
nice.
yet. It's missing my book yet, but
No,
it's getting.
your book is gonna come, and hopefully in a few weeks we will have also the English version of your
Yes,
book,
we
which
need
I
to
think
keep
is going to be a
pestering.
bomb.
We need to keep pestering the publisher for that.
I have a message for your editor. Be quick.
Be quick. Right, Marisa, another thing I wanted to talk to you about it, even though we will come back in another podcast about this, is the fact that as well as being a TV star, as well as being on medias and so on, you are also part of the Comitato per la Salvaguardia delle Perle Veneziane, the committee for the safeguard of of the art of Venetian glass beads. So just in case you're gonna correct me, did I say it right this time? Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
Okay. So what is this committee, and why is it so important? The art of glass beads.
I don't know, the art of glass beads is now really the little sister of the making of glass in general. So, in fact, when we talk about the glass beads in Venice, we say Venetian glass beads. We don't say Murano glass beads
Uh huh.
because actually the glass beads were made all over Venice, not only at the island of Murano.
Ah, okay. Oh, see, I told you every time I speak to you, I learn something new. So this is a new thing I didn't know. Okay, good.
And the art of the glass beads in Venice started very early. The first documents, so the first written documents that you find in the Venetian archives about the making of glass beads dates back to 1338. So
Wow.
a little long ago.
Yeah.
And so it's really something that it's so tied to the birth of Venice. And we can say that before the big objects like chandelier, when we talk about Venetian glass, we think immediately about vases, sculptures, mirrors, chandeliers, and big things that are made in the glass furnaces of Murano. But think about these, the biggest quantity of glass objects ever produced, and the biggest quantity, the biggest economy that derives from the making of glass in Venice is tied to the glass bead making.
Wow. And just was it 2020? The art of glass beads was awarded. No, was made part of UNESCO, right?
Allora, the art of glass beads became intangible heritage, UNESCO intangible cultural heritage in December 2020.
That
And
is, it was a
I will,
major. This was a major acknowledgement, wasn't it?
oh yeah, also because we did it, we are a group of people that started actually being promoting
Mm-hmm.
the art of the glass beads in Venice many years ago, and at the 2010, 2011. And we slowly became from a simple group, informal group, we became a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, the president of the committee, Mrs. Cristina Bedin, Dr. Cristina Bedin, said, "Oh, we should apply for UNESCO for becoming cultural heritage of mankind."
And that
And
was
all
a
of us,
long ride, wasn't it?
oh yes, I remember saying, "Oh my God, we will never achieve that. It's going to be very difficult and very expensive."
Yeah, of
And
course.
also because normally this type of proceedings take not only a lot of time but also a lot of money,
And bureaucracy as
because
well, and a lot of bureaucracy.
which means also money, because
Yeah,
if
of
you
course.
don't have a specialist that work for you
My
and it's
God.
paid, it really takes much longer. And I must say that we have been helped a lot by Claudia Cottica, who's an anthropologist that really took care of the most difficult papers together with Cristina Bedin. And I worked on the street. I really created so many different events to involve people of all different type, from
Mm.
school kids to grown up
Yeah.
people, organizing a little bit of everything, even bead hunts, treasure
Uh,
hunts.
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah. I think
and
you were the first one to organize a glass beads treasure hunt in Venice, weren't you?
oh yeah, in 2012.
Yeah. But listen, I want to talk to you this in another
uh,
episode. I want to because I want to go into the depth of the committee, the depth of what you organize. But just very quickly, because uh, we are now recording is August. We are towards the end of August, and but next month in Venice, we're in 2022. There's gonna be the Venice Glass Week, and the committee will be part is playing a very big role this year compared maybe to the other year. This year looks to me like the number of events and the importance that is given to you is a bit stronger. Am I wrong?
this is also this is the international 2022 is the international glass the year international year of glass. So it's a very important edition, the 2022, also because we come from what we come, so it's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a rebirth. And plus the fact that from this year, the Venice Glass Week has done a joint venture with a, a fair, glass fair, industrial fair, a design fair uh, of Milan.
Mm-hmm.
And so from this year, the Venetian glass week becomes the Italian glass weeks. So it's
So
a very important edition because it really it's growing, it's becoming bigger. It involves Milan, which is the center for design and industry, and it's even more international. I heard the Venice Glass Week this year has had 300 applications.
wow.
Uh,
But you
all
as a
over
committee, I know that you're organizing even more events compared to last year because you're gonna have
the
treasure hunts run by you, correct?
Yeah, so we are going to have even a contest which is organized by Alessia Fuga, our dear friend,
Which I
and
am going to interview in the next few days as well.
a contest about, it's entitled Your Bid for Venice. So it's a bid making
Mm-hmm.
contest, international contest, which is going to give us lots of satisfaction because
Mm-hmm.
it's becoming huge. It's already huge and will grow in the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
year. And we are going to Milan. We are organizing lots of events in Milan too, a treasure hunt.
Good. Where can we find all of these informations?
Allora, I spent all day
Yeah, of course.
today. I took a day off job and I spent all day in front of the computer. So I think you can go to the site of the Italian Glass Week
Okay.
and you look through the many events. You will find
Okay.
also events. It's all in English too. You
Good.
will find many of the events organized by the Committee for the Safeguard of the Art of the Venetian Glass Beads.
Good. Now, before I'll ask you about where we can find you, I have one question for you.
What?
Actually, two, very
Mm.
quickly. One, your favorite type of bead?
Allora, my favorite type of bead, it's very hard because it's like, if I had 10 kids and you ask me, your favorite, I wouldn't be able to answer you.
We all can tell who the favorite kid is, trust me.
Allora, if we talk about seed beads, okay, because we must at least divide
Yes.
the two category of the seed beads, I would say I'm working a lot now with this beautiful striped
Okay.
beads that we call stricai in Veneziano.
Okay.
They are lovely blue and white stripes.
Okay.
I love them. I found some of them in a box after I
Forgotten.
forgotten, and
Okay.
I'm really loving them. If we talk about lampwork beads, so the bigger beads, I would say I really love, I really love the mille fiori glass beads, the
Okay.
thousand flower, the glass mosaic beads. I find them very intriguing.
So for the people listening, we're gonna be talking about all the different type of lamp worked beads in an episode with Alessia Fuga that I will be interviewing the next few days. And she's a bead maker, a lamp bead maker, and she's incredible. She's one of the best in the world, and so she will explain all the different type of lamp work beads. So after, if you carry on listening in the series, you'll find out what a mille fiori is. Now, my last question is about Venice. Unfortunately, due to again personal circumstances, you had to leave the city, but
Mm.
you work in there. Um, what are the biggest problem? Very quickly, you go about 5 minutes, no less, 3 minutes. What are the biggest problems in the city at the moment?
Money, if I have.
Yeah, that was quick.
Allora, I have this personal explanation for everything. If you don't know, if you don't understand why something happens, you follow the track of the money.
Okay.
Allora, come si dice avidità in inglese? How
Oh
do you?
gosh.
Um,
I can't think of it.
no,
Okay, when you want more and more and more of something.
allora, as lots of Venetian people, uh, they have lost their mind for money.
Mm.
They have lost so much their mind for money that they forgot about the long term benefits of
Yeah.
having a city remaining alive.
Mm.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We don't want to be too nasty about it. We'll
No,
save that for another episode, shall we?
well, I am not. I have been living in Venice for almost 40 years.
Hmm.
Okay, and after my late husband died, I for personal reasons I have to sell my house and go away,
Hmm.
and I wasn't able to buy again in another place, even if smaller in the city.
Hmm.
But most of all, I didn't wanna throw away the money that I had left from a lifetime of sacrifices into a property that wasn't worth it
Yes.
because of the avidity of people.
Hmm.
And this is why I decided to go back where I came from, which is Marghera, where I
Hmm.
was born and raised, which is only 5-10 minutes a bus ride from the city. and I decided to stay here, to live here, and I don't really have any regret because I think that you can be in Australia and do good for Venice.
Absolutely.
I have friends that live in Australia and they do so good for Venice.
Mhm. So, Marisa, where can we find you? Of course, physically at Bottega Cini,
Yes.
not Tuesdays and Wednesdays, correct?
No, because I'm off, because
Yeah.
I want to have a life.
Of course, and you should, and rightly so. So at Bottega Cini and online, what's your website?
My website is very simple. It's literally my name, www.marisaconvento.it.
And where do we find you on social media?
On social media, you find me with my name or with Venetian Dreams. So it's either Marisa Convento or Venetian Dreams, which is the name of my.
And we can find you on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter,
You
right?
find me on
Where?
Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and I will be there.
Oh, you will be there. Okay, Marisa, what can I say? Thank you so much. But we're gonna speak
It's me.
again soon. We will talk about the committee, the comitato, but in another episode. It was
Thank you.
lovely talking to you. And guys,
For me too.
all Marisa's her website and all her social media handle will be on the episode at the end of the episode. Anyway, I will repeat them for you. Marisa, thank you so much. Have a lovely evening and.
And thank you for listening. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Monica, for hosting me.
Ciao cara.
Ciao. Baci, baci.
A huge thank you to Marisa for taking part in this podcast. You can find her in Venice, of course, at Bottega Cini, but you can find her online as www.marisaconvento.it. You will find these informations on the description of this podcast. Bye bye. Thank you so much for listening to Venice Talks. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find all the other episodes on all major podcast platforms, and you can find me on my blog www.monicacesarato.com. If you want to know more about Venice, please feel free to send me an email or to write a comment under this podcast, and I will be happy to answer in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye bye.